Charles Bukowski, Pulp. This is his last novel, which was finished a couple of, weeks or maybe months after he died, and he published before he died, and it's published after his death, and that was the only novel which was positively accepted by critique, by American critique, which telling us what a idiots American people are. They critique. You see what a great writers they have. The guy who saw it all ahead, right? See, but I want to talk about the end of the book where Charles Bukowski describing that of his alter ego, and he's telling us how probably look like a death. And I love it. I think it's a genius, and it leads me to discover my own theory, which I can tell you after. But first of all, what Bukowski think about that. On the end, the main character dying on the street, and he see big red sparrow approaching him, you see, lightning big red sparrow. And for Bukowski, he has a great sense of humor. He's dying on the street and he's like, it cannot be this, it cannot be that, it's not, the people cannot die so absurdly. No, I thought there is a stairway to heaven or something, there is a Jesus or something happening, or some galaxies, the new. No, and here comes the big red sparrow, which is glowing, it's lightening, it's bigger and bigger until it's eat him up. And he's saying, Bukowski, that the sparrow is full of emptiness, nothingness, absurdity. And then it's approaching him until it eat him up. And then he's dead. And he's saying, like, it's not possible, people can die in such a way, there must be more dignity, which is great, because this guy have a great sense of humor, and he was the only novel which was recognized after he died. It was published after he died, finished a couple of weeks or months before he died, and published after his death. And only that time the American critic, literature, acknowledged Bukowski like a great writer, which telling us what the idiots the American people generally and critics they are, because they have great writer and they've been ignoring him whole life, and they just gave him credit in a moment when he died, which is pretty significant, because Bukowski pinpoint about 50, 70 years. He was born in 1920s, and then, he was trying to write when he was 20, 30, then he stopped for 20 years and he was just drinking and doing nothing, and he started again in his 40s. And his first book was published when he was 49 or 50. So if you're trying to be a writer, take it easy. Bukowski made it. His first book was when he was 49, 50, and nobody read it anyway in the small publishing house. And this guy pinpointed and described America as it is, And you can find his books, the reason why USA is falling apart. You can find there why Americans will never be happy. Because they individual society, they competing, you see, and they becoming exactly who they are not. That's the problem, you see, because Carl Gustav Jung telling us, this great psychologist, as much as you deviating from what you really are, as much depressed you becoming, you see. You're not born here to compete. Some of us, yes, some of us not. You're not born here to have some stupid, degenerative, fentanyl smoking American dream. 30% of the people in California I read have no reading skills, The question is, does really this fentanyl user needs to read? I don't think so. He needs these skills. So, we are not born here to have one unified, pre-printed, stupid American dream, to have a house, make $1 million, be successful, be on the TV, be famous. You see, that's why the American society is falling apart, because it's in total contradictions. On the other hand, all Americans saying, I have to do it in my way, I'm individualist, I have to do it in my way, But on the other hand, it's all bullshit, because they are never ever happy, you see. Why? Because they all have one same dream. You see, they are idiots. There is 400 million people, and you cannot have all same dreams. No, and the nor that the money will not make you happy and the success. The ego is bullshit, you see. The ego is just a couple of layers and layers and layers. It's something which you're putting between yourself and the world, and you playing this analytical game that you know everything, you everybody, and as a bigger ego you got, and as much you build your existence on how much money you got or how great you are in the world, that's how much you deviating actually yourself from who you really are, because you are not a president, you are not a super writer, and Bukowski knew this in one of his great novel, in one of his great poem, which I want to read next time, called Secret. He's describing that everything is illusion, you see. So this guy decoded, obviously, the American dream and the stupidity, the consumerism and the stupidity of the American people, you see, who are never ever happy. Why? Because they don't know who they are. And if you are not who you are, then you're becoming somebody else. You brainwashed, you see. You become an idiot. You know, everybody knows until age of 12, you are in this 7, 8, you are in alpha, in age of 50, 60, you know, delta state, you hypnotized, you know. So the Prussian system of the basic elementary school, fucking Ford, who gave workers 40 hours per week, not 500, to, you know, the mortgage, the invention, all this slavery, you know, all this brainwashing Tavistock projects, whatever, though he was in Great Britain, CIA, all that crap. You see, the American people, they had no idea who they are. They don't know their history, you know. They're not only formally uneducated people, but they're not educated in the sense that they don't know what is the world about and who they are. If you don't understand yourself, then how you can expect the world will understand you, unless you can fly somewhere and bomb a shit out of somebody to make him, you know, understand you. You see? So Bukowski described this, and the death in the Pulp is in Czech. It's my mother tongue, you know. This is my library. I don't have it, unfortunately, in the English. I lost it in USA when I was traveling. And I was going to these bookstores, and people say, "Who is Bukowski? Who is really, you reading him?" Say, like, is he one of your best writer? Who is Jack Kerouac? You idiots, you see. So Americans have one of the best writers in the world, on the other hand. Because, you know, like Leonard Cohen says, that's the place which creates the best and the worst. So he's one of the worst, terrible country, you know, fascistic, Nazistic, authoritarian system, which forcing you, brainwashing you to do what you don't want to do, to work. Everybody know you're not born to work, you know. The slave is born to work, or fucking peasant, you see. That's why nowadays CEOs waking up at 4 a.m. like peasants, going to work for 15 hours, you see, to sustain some shares, some stupid, you know, wealth, or some Chinese papers, pictures on it, you know, and that's all. And you see, they're not very happy. Why? Because they are idiots, because they got deviated from who they are. They even don't know who they are. Some of them are just narcissistic, stupid, infantile sociopaths. So they really paradoxically becoming who they are, you know. They becoming, you know, and they somehow evilishly happy, right? Like they stupid, degenerative fentanyl smoke, fucking Mickey Mouse on the fentanyl smoking from the White House, or whoever is this low IQ individual there. I don't think so. Obama or the previous, the Joe Biden, were smart people. They were same garbage, you see. And I think Bukowski would agree with me that it's all same. One of his great quote is, the difference between democracy and dictatorship is that in dictatorship you save time, you know, going to vote. So the great novel, and that's how look like the end, that, you know, moment on the end of this novel, which bringing me to the idea. I'm thinking, you know,